The ones that you guys got are the rescue jacks. It's a well-known product. It's been used for 20 years in the field, and the technology is really somewhat unchanged. You'd have to change a few things based on just advancement and to be able to jack it, and in implementing other tools that integrate into it, be able to change the heads or the base plates that's on here, and integrate in other systems into the thing. So the rescue jack goes from 36 inches up to 102 inches. And so I think one of the main reasons that your innovation committee chose this is that fully collapsed is 36. So you can really put it in almost any compartment that you have. If you're going to store these things, I'm sure that you guys have thought out where you're going to put them in the compartment. And once you collapse them and pull them out, it's a series of pin systems. There's 3 pins on here. You got this pin, and this pin. This pin extends the bottom portion, the yellow section. This pin, you have to pull both of these pins to extend both, because if I have this all the way in here, fully collapsed to here, this pin captures this strut too, or this extension. So double pin pull, double extend, pin pin. If you look at the head itself, it's got a slot for a chain. It's a round for the base of the car, and on every frame rail there's either an oval opening or a circular opening that they use for tie downs when they're shipping these things on road, rail, and ship. All right, and so and there's also to be able to swivel, and this also sits down into a groove. You can catch a frame rail with it, or you can make a slot on a rocker panel and slide it up underneath the rocker panel. And if you do something like that, just make sure it doesn't have any left to right movement. When you're extending these things, the ideal angles on these things, if you're stabilizing, when I'm stabilizing, it's left to right motion of the car. Okay, stabilizing, your angles need to be between 45 and 55 or up to 60 degrees, 45 to 55, and it eliminates left to right movement. Once you get to a point to where you already anticipate that you're going to lift it, the angle changes to 60 to 80. Now capacity, what do you guys think the capacity of this particular strut is? Vertical at about, say, 6 feet. How many pounds per strut do you think it does? Wild guess.
10,000.
10,000, close, but not. It's 4,000. It's all based on the crank itself. Okay. If you have just the stand itself without anything, we're closer to 7,000. What do you think that's based on? The strength of what? The pin. It's a pin system, right? And so, and once you set a jack, or a stand, and you don't have this on it, once you set it, it's set. You can't adjust it. You can't take the weight off and pull the pin out and extend it out somewhere else. That's where these come in. You have 1 foot of travel on here. When you're extending this thing out, you can see on here, you can see right on here, there's 12 inches. It'll go all the way to 0, okay, as you're extending this thing out. 11, and so on. You do your countdown. So I want to review the weight capacity. What's the capacity? 4,000 pounds based on what? The crank on here. And how much does it extend out? A foot. And the optimal weight working load limit of this is 4,000 pounds at 6 feet. Okay, you go above that, the capacity changes. You change the angle, the capacity changes. What that math is on that, we don't know. It doesn't. There's no chart on here per se, but you know that it reduces. Basically, when you get the kits back to your station, it's really simple. If you look at this carefully, or even just not carefully, the finger hook is up or down. The finger hook is down. So for design by this, it doesn't matter if they're up or down. Ultimately, the one disadvantage of having them down is that if you're doing a double base plate and you're drawing the base plates together, what can happen is that you can catch a rock or something like that, and you can actually kick it off of the base plate if you're not careful with it. But since you have the rescue jacks and it's a crank system versus pulling the base plates to change the angle or do the lift, then it's really not as much of an issue. Now, this is an open position, closed position. What was the capacity of this thing? Remember the capacity? Is that finger? 11,000 on the ratchet itself. Okay, it's 10,000 with a working load limit of 3,333, and the strap itself is actually 12,000. So we're going based off the weakest link, which is what? The finger hook. Okay, the wire hook. Now, when you put these things together, they come with that little strap on that's on there like that. And if you look at the whole length of this 27-foot strap that's on here, and what do you notice about one side versus the other? That's a Department of Transportation line that says that they're rated to use on the highways for either lashing a load or in a rescue scenario. These lines will zigzag back and forth a little bit. You'll have a fat one, skinny one, fat one, skinny one on each particular line. If you overcapacity this, goes past the working load limit, it'll be one continuous thread will show up. That's how you know you've run it over. The other thing too is that what this also tells me is which way my hook is. Okay, if the stripe is down, the hook is down. If the stripe is up, the hook is up. So when I'm done using this thing and I've cleaned all the dirt, grime, glass, grease, blood off of this thing, I've let it dry, and then I'm going to store it in a proper fashion, all I have to do is, okay, I got a system with a finger hook that's down. All I have to do is in a closed position, I put the ratchet strap up, out, and with the stripe down, and then I just pull it all the way through. You help me pull this under, Mike. Careful when these things can flip right in the middle of the whole piece here. Go ahead, go all the way through. I got it. Okay, now stop. That's good. So now you see finger hook down. Okay, there's a couple of ways that I recommend. You can do whatever you want. You can daisy chain the thing for all I care. But what I do is whether it's strutting a car, cutting a car, or storing a strap, I base it on safe, efficient, and fast. And I want it to be able to do all three. And the most efficient way I found is two ways. You got a rescue roll, is where you bring the short end, you bring it up and over the handle and underhook. And you can bring the running end up and over and side hook, and you dress these together, pull, and you roll it all the way to the other end. And you keep it tight all the way. The problem with that is the guys, when they deploy this thing, and actually I'll do it since we have a small group and we have time, and it's a good point to bring up. Right, Chris? Yep. Let's go all the way. I'm going to start on this. I'm going to do the rescue. I'm going to start with this one. This is called the rescue roll. There's another roll I'm going to show you called the donut roll. If you decide you're going to store them like this is my number 2 choice. My number 1 choice is going to be the donut roll. The most important part is that when you just glance at a roll, if it's rolled up, if there's a hook on this end, you need to pull it out and re-roll it, because I have to pull in 27 feet of strap just to start. I'm already wasting time, right? So it's important that once we do some stabilization on these cars behind you guys, most of the time you're only ever going to need 4 feet, which is 1 pull, or 8 feet, which is 2 pulls. Okay, and with that, I can do that with this here. Now, this is a rescue roll. How to deploy this is just grab it by the handle right here and let it fall out. And the last 4 feet, I'm holding up here so I'm not in this mess. But what happens, and I usually like to do this from a standing position. That way I have at least this straight. If you do it from a one knee, what's going to happen is that you're going to have the mess, and when you go to pull it out, it's going to be binding up in here. So then you pull out the hook, okay, and you either do 1 pull or 2 pulls on this. 1, 2, okay. Now I still have all that strap there. I'm going to have to, if I'm going to work with that, I have to do that to it to unwind it, and that's not something I want to do. Now what Mike and Kevin are doing is we're going to do the rescue roll or the donut roll. It's pretty simple. What they're doing is they put the hooks together, both hooks are facing down, and it doesn't matter how tight this thing is, you just got to roll it from one end to the next. See if I can catch him.
Give me to roll that for you and you can shut the hooks. You better hurry, Mike.
It doesn't matter how tight it is.
It doesn't matter how tight it is.
Mine's going to look good, that's all I know.
It's all about looking good. It's all about that base. And when you get to this point, bring it up right here, set on here, bring your hook over, test it. Okay, I need to pull that through that little slot there so I can tighten it up. Compress it down. A little bit of length out on this, just a tiny bit. There we go. That's right where I want it, I think. Yeah, but you had a 2-minute head start, Mike. That's called a donut roll. And here it's really simple. The hooks are outside each other and you know they're together. So all you have to do is really basically pull this to one side and they almost always automatically unhook. And then it's always straight and it's either one pull or two pulls on this. Pulling it through. 1, 2. All right. So those are 2 that I recommend, but you guys can do whatever you want, honestly. Grade 100, 3/8 inch diameter, 20 feet in length. Okay. 8,800 pounds. That's plenty, right? While we're on this, let's take a look. This is a chain shortener as well. You can see that the grade on this is 10 or 100, and the grade on this is 70 or 7. You guys also have in these kits the large J hook. These are awesome, awesome chains. You got the 8-foot chain, or actually this is 6-foot here. They have an 6, 8, 12, and 16, I think, for their systems. But this is the 6-foot length here, and it's grade 70. When you have grade 70 chain or less, the grab hook is the same color as the chain. You get it grade 80 and above, it's an opposite color. Again, this 6-footer here has a grab hook. It has the T-tool and it has a small J hook. But what it also has is this large J hook. When you're using this, you can utilize this on the undercarriage of a vehicle really easily, or on the top of the car. You can use it on the post and pillar, okay, and bring it back and run the chain into the base plate there. But this is designed for the chain itself. It grabs and you can shorten the chain with this, okay. It's got this ring. This ring is designed for that, okay. It's designed for that, so utilize that. You also got the small J hook on here on your clusters. The small J hook, and you also have a T-tool. It's called a T-tool. It's for the oval openings. You'll see most of these on the foreign cars. You just drop it in the hole, turn, and it locks. And you always put your finger hook through this particular hole. The pickets are 1 inch diameter, 4 feet in length. If you had utilizing these things, you can use them through the base plate, and you could drive it in. And what the FEMA guide wants you to do is at least 2/3, and it's all based on Class C soil. Okay, and I'm not going to go out and do the soil testing on this to determine what it is, but you generally will be putting in more than half of this into the ground. If you have concrete, then you're up against a whole different scenario. You're going to have to utilize a different anchor point for these. So yeah, and these are often going to be based on the angle you put them either straight in or toward the load. If I go away from the load and I put a load on that base plate, it's going to want to put load and move this backwards. If you move it forward or straight up, it keeps it in a vertical position. Does that make sense? All right. All right.